Good morning. I'm Rob Palkovitz. I'm a professor of human development and family studies from the University of Delaware. And today I would like to speak with you about resourceful fathering, or fathering for life. Do I need to advance to the first? I do. All right, so I'm going to speak to you about resourceful fathering or fathering for life. Now, I've been told that the most provocative way that I could start this lightning talk is to tell you about an event that, in fact, makes me a lightning strike survivor. And though I'm none the worse for the wear, and it is peripherally related to talking about resourceful fathering, it's not the most directly connected. I was doing volunteer work with at-risk kids, but I have a more appropriate story to open with. A number of years ago, I was doing some research with a group of dads in a really challenging situation. They were coming out of incarceration, and they were looking for the reestablishment of visitation or of having custody of their children. And so we were talking about the challenges and the obstacles that they were facing. I was running a focus group with these dads, and some of them already had custody or visitation established. One of the dads in that context said to me that it had been a while since he had seen his daughter. I said, "Why is that?" Do you want me to just hold this mic? Is that better? Okay. I'm all right. Thank you. All right, so I asked, he had said that it had been a while since he had seen his daughter, and I said, "Why is that?" He looked at me and he said, "Oh, I got it." He looked at me and he said, "Man, every time I get together with her, she wants me to take her to the mall. I can't afford the bus fare, and the mall's outside of the jurisdiction of my parole agreement. But when we do go to the mall, she wants me to buy her stuff." And he said, "Man, I can't even afford to buy her a bag of chips. Why do I want her to see that?" Now, being focused on what he was unable to do kept this dad from understanding the riches that he already had in his grasp, things that are priceless and things that he could share with his daughter. Things like a sense of connection, a sense of him being there, a sense of identity, teaching her practical skills, giving her encouragement, reading to her, connecting her to other people in the community, etc. This leads us to an important point, and that is that even though dads are incredibly diverse in terms of the situations that they're engaged in their fathering, every single dad already has valuable resources in his hands that he can share with his children in order to facilitate their development. When dads focus on a lack of time or a lack of money, they're coming from a deficit model that really undercuts their ability to provide the things that are perhaps more priceless and more valuable. Every dad I know is really focused on wanting to enhance the success or the well-being of his children. And yet for a lot of dads, this seems to be an unattainable goal simply because they think that they don't understand child development and that it's too complicated, so they don't know where to begin. It's really empowering to fathers to find out that there's not one right way to parent. Each of them has unique skills and abilities that allow them to do things that are developmentally facilitative. Though development is incredibly complex, and though there is a really rapidly expanding literature and database, there are some basic principles that apply to all dads that can demystify the science and bring some empowerment to fathers. Despite the incredible diversity that dads are experienced by, there are some universals that always matter. It's too bad Dr. Dale had to step out. She was looking for 5 things. I can tell you 3 that always matter. There are 3 things that always matter. They could simply be called the ABCs of fathering. The A in this case stands for the affective or emotional connection, the sense of love, attachment, being cared for, the trust, the warmth, a sense that your dad is there for you. The B stands for the behavioral engagement, actually doing things together, spending time together, going places, doing things, having fun. And the C stands for the connection. Quite simply, the synchrony or the timing, using teachable moments or being sensitive to the signals. When a child feels that they need more engagement or involvement, tuning into that, stepping back when they feel a little overpowered. When you talk to dads about great moments in fathering, you ask them to benchmark and say, can you tell me about some great times that you've had? They're able to do that. They're able to say, yeah, there was this time when we did this or that. And they come to the realization that each of those things that they can remember and recount to you are simply associated with the ABCs of fathering. When that happens, a light bulb goes on. They've had a shifting mindset. They understand that the concept of positive developmental cascades. Quite simply, good input leads to good outcomes. Competence begets competence. When you feed into a system, it affects every other part of the system with ripple effects. When dads have experienced this, they come to a lived experience of what I call fathering for life. Fathering for life has multiple meanings. One of them is, we're focused on the first 2 years or the first 5 years here, but it really has to do with fathering across the lifespan. Not just when children are young, but as long as both the father and child are alive. Secondly, men who experience fathering for life have a lived experience of becoming better men as a result of being engaged with their kids. I did a developmental qualitative research study with a group of 40 very diverse men, and I was actually quite surprised to hear them all unanimously talk to me about how they had become better people as a result of being invested in their children. They had become more focused on taking care of things that had been good enough for themselves or good enough for their partner for the betterment of their relationship with their kids. And then the third thing is that fathering for life brings life to the full for their children. In other words, enhancing their developmental potential and helping them to engage in well-being. Specifically, research can document that the A factor, that affective connection, sense of being loved, really cared for, is associated with fewer internalizing problems for children. That would be emotional or psychological problems. And it actually builds a child's self-worth, self-confidence, a sense of belonging, and emotional well-being. The B factor, the behavioral engagement, is associated with skill building and fewer externalizing behaviors. The skills are often linked to educational attainment, skills that come out in the cognitive and social realms, and it leads to better outcomes in terms of educational attainment, substance use, and delayed sexual activity. It's the C that makes everything work together. Doing things in the right way at the right time. When dads experience the simplicity of the ABCs of fathering, they see that they're able to actually do these things. They already know how to do these things. It puts powerful tools into their hands, tools that they feel familiar with, ready and capable to use. I'd like to end with a quote from the same focus group that I began with. One of the dads who was coming out of prison was really happy and proud to talk to me about the great foster care setting that his 3 kids had while he was in prison. He told me about their opportunities and the good experiences they were having, and yet he was very focused on reestablishing custody. And I asked him, why is that so important? And he looked me square in the eye and he said, man, nobody can love my kids like I can. He was on the pathway to understanding the key to fathering for life, resourceful fathering. Thank you.